The man hand-picked by the government to help find a solution to people smuggling has visited the refugee camps in Sri Lanka, from where many asylum seekers come. Australia's special envoy to Sri Lanka, John McCarthy, has flown to the north of the country, an area where media access is usually tightly controlled. But the ABC's Michael Edwards was able to get a rare glimpse of conditions inside the Manik Farm camp by accompanying Mr McCarthy on his tour.
Cut from dense jungle, the sprawling Manik Farm camp is home to more than 130,000 Tamils displaced by Sri Lanka's civil war. For John McCarthy, it could hold the answers to why some Tamils want to leave their country. Here, people live in makeshift tents under the nose of Sri Lankan soldiers. There's very little power, no running water, and the area is subject to flooding during heavy rains. This mother and her son sleep on the floor of their small tent. They've been here since May. She says she's glad the war is over, but that it's still tough living in the camp. Aid agencies are given access and medicines are available, but the facilities are rudimentary at best. Most of the residents just want to go home. 130,000 or so people still live at Manik Farm, but just a few months ago there were 90,000 more people living in these squalid and cramped conditions. The Sri Lankan government says 3,000 to 5,000 Tamils are being released from the camp every day and are allowed to go home.
As of today, we have sent more than 100,000 people out of Manik Farm for resettlement proper. And in addition to that, we started sending the pregnant mothers with their families, elderly people with their families.
But it's not that easy. When the Tamils return to their villages, the scars of the war are still evident. Logeshwara spent 5 months at Manik Farm. When she got back to her village, she found her home had been ransacked. I just want life to return to normal, she says. I'm confident it will.
I think, generally speaking, the discussions we've had suggest that although the whole process is not without the odd hiccup, the momentum is right, the pace is right, and there is a lot of satisfaction with people on having returned and with the prospect of returning.
With much of northern Sri Lanka still recovering from the war, it can be difficult for some to return to their villages. Destruction is widespread and large areas of the land are heavily mined. Human rights activists say life will only return to normal once the military reduces its presence in everyday life.
Tamils feel that they are not under special scrutiny by the military, and until the government comes up with a political solution, at least a political proposal that meets the aspirations of Tamils to be equal citizens, to have some power in the areas in which they are a majority, I think Tamils will want to leave Sri Lanka.
And this could mean more demand for the services of people smugglers.
A part of life in Sri Lanka is that huge numbers of people go overseas seeking employment, but there have also been long-standing political and human rights problems in the country, and that is a spur for people wanting to escape Sri Lanka as well.
The Sri Lankan government aims to have most displaced Tamils resettled by January next year. The Australian government will be hoping that this runs to schedule. Michael Edwards at Manik Farm in northern Sri Lanka for Lateline.